Welcome back, everybody. We are covering Chapter 2, Part 2. We should put a nail in this one by the end. But first, before we start off, I really want to give a shout out to all of our supporters. As of today, we have 230 subscribers, which is great. We appreciate that. We like it not because we're making any type of money on this. It actually probably costs us money, if anything, but we do it because we enjoy it and we like to share what we have and put it all out there. So I want to give a shout out to a couple of our regulars that comment on here. We have the Black Horse 11th Cav. Thank you for them. We have Beyond the Map Treasure. We have Dustin Williams 39, T-Lay 430, and Bill O'Connell 6464, to name a few. And we really appreciate your interaction, your comments, and your support for coming back and watching us all the time. We just have a lot of fun doing this. We are empty nesters, so we look for things that we find joy in, and this is one of them. So with that, thank you very much. We appreciate it, and we hope you stick around and maybe even share it with some of your friends. So that being said, we have some new info in this chapter. I will start off with the first thing I found, and this is actually the first time it's jumped out at me after reading this book at least 4 times. So it starts on page 28, and the text reads as this: I treated this puzzle as if it were an assignment in economics. I walked by the student library and, using the Dewey Decimal System, searched for books that would give me statistics on careers. So I've read this before, and I've acknowledged the Dewey Decimal System before, but I was a little curious and said, I wonder what that Dewey Decimal number is, because I, as well as Laura, have used the Dewey Decimal System. Yes, we are old, but I was curious into that. So when I did look it up, it was the MDS 331.702. Now, you might probably ask, what does MDS stand for? It's named after Melville Dewey, for the Melville Dewey Decimal System. And what I came up with, it was College Majors Handbook with Real Career Paths and Payoffs, the actual jobs, earnings, and trends for graduates of 60 college majors. So I think this would really line up with what JCB was looking for. And, it jumped out at me. I don't know what these numbers are, but if you look at the 33rd parallel, and I'll put a picture up on the bottom of the screen, it really separates the southern states. Starts off in sort of around Southern California area, goes through Texas, and ends up in South Carolina. So I think that could be pretty important. Possibly, I don't think it's the smoking gun where it says, hey, the lion's share box is hidden under or on the 33rd parallel, but hey, I'm marking it down. I'm putting it in there. It spiked my spidey senses. And one also important note, as this clue was from part of the chapter in which JCB didn't find joy, rather he was ultimately searching for joy. And I noticed last time we talked, we were thinking, hey, do we see everything that he finds joy in as a clue? Or maybe it's searching for joy, right? That could be a clue as well. So with that, what do you think about it, Laura?
Yeah, I love the concept. When you first came up with it a few nights ago, you came racing into the bedroom, I think, well after I had fallen asleep, trying to rouse me enough to understand Dewey Decimal System and the numbers and what you're trying to correlate it to. And I just your excitement about that was so made me excited too. So I think it's definitely one more thing to add to the list. Agree with you. It's not a smoking gun, but it's intriguing. Like, why was that in there? Why was that a relevant detail? So yeah, let's
Yeah.
go with it. Let's mark it down.
Yeah. So, and there was another one that I came up with. I've really been excited about this book this week. As I mentioned in my other video I did on the Forrest Fenn box, I have a tendency to wake my wife up when she's sleeping when I find something, and it drives her nuts, I'm sure, but it also drives me nuts because I can't sleep. That being said, in the on same page, page 28, the third paragraph down, where JCB was searching for a job, he extolled virtues of. So anyway, so he found three different jobs, right? And I'm taking this sentence, not reading the whole sentence paragraph, but the sentence. The first part of the paragraph says, pertaining to the job that he's looking at, it extolled virtues of steak knives. And then he said, no thanks. And then the other one, another job elucidated the virtue of selling copiers. Pass, he said. And for those of you like me that have and not like Laura, who have a expanded vocabulary, elucidated is to make clear. Uh, but then he goes,
Lucid to make clear, lucite light
yeah,
to illuminate.
yeah. So then he goes into the third job that he saw. He goes, but then a particular one caught my eye. This one said people were needed to sell environmentally friendly health products. That sounded interesting. So, why do I bring these up? You're probably like, have you lost your mind? No, I think this clue matches, and I'll leave a link to my Forrest Fenn video in the description because I think we can all, without bringing up the topic, our part two clues, compartmentalize in part two, but part one, lion's share is in the whole book. So I think we can say there's probably a fair, if not, maybe not strong correlation, but the clue matches the golden locks of hair JCB mentions in the Forrest Fenn chapter. And if you haven't seen the video, then I'll explain a little bit. But and I'll leave that link if you want to watch it, which I highly recommend because it really jumped out at me. Um, JCB mentions his golden locks of hair not being there anymore when he alludes to hunting for treasure and being on this ship and things like that. So, what does this all mean? Goldilocks principle, right? The Goldilocks principle is, means that, optimal outcomes occur in the middle ground between extremes when conditions are balanced or just right. Like the porridge is too hot, too cold, it's just right. This is the second time I found this reference in a week, and that's pretty big. Usually, when we stumble across things, or at least when I stumble across things, they're random, and I like to jot them down. But this sort of keeps popping out and really keeping in theme with the clues I've been finding in particularly with Forrest Fenn because it keeps dragging me in and as I read it I start to pick up on different things and I did one and another example of a clue like that as JCB says tickles your spidey senses. I mean now I know what really that means because I never really had a clue that jumped out like that. And well, I'll leave it to you to watch that video, right? I know, shameless way to get you to watch video, but I talk about a couple clues that are, to me at least, are really important. They may not be to other people, but to me they really were important, and I wanted to share those with you. So it's a short video, less than 10 minutes. So check it out. I really think you'll find some value in that. Laura, what do you think about the Goldilocks principle or anything about that?
So I think that's relevant. When you first told me about it, I was like, what the heck are you talking
Well, it didn't help. It
about?
was like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night.
Right. I think, yeah, it was quite late. But while you were talking here, I couldn't help but Google Goldilocks principle. So I want to do a little more reading, but I did not realize that it is a principle beyond this book. and these theories, and that actually there's an application in astrobiology. So super intriguing. I want to read a little bit more about it, but ultimately they say that the optimal state or condition is often found in the middle ground, avoiding the extremes. So I don't know that that totally applies to the jobs, but I do think that this set of three and the utilization of the golden locks and the gold, the word gold, is relevant. So searching for some sort of middle ground or some sort of, there are three viables, but one makes more sense than the others, or is more palatable than the others. So interesting. I think definitely worth recording.
Yeah, see this, folks, you hear it here first. This is why we have her here. She keeps me grounded, right? I could just go off on a tangent and say, hey, I found it, I found it, I found it. And not see the proverbial forest in front of the trees. So there may be other applications to the Goldilocks principle. It doesn't have to be too hot, too cold, or just right, right? Like you said, find the middle ground of something, which is a clever wordplay, I think.
Well, I think that is too hot, too cold, or just right, because
Yeah,
those are the extremes. And this is saying it's finding the middle ground, avoiding the extremes. Too hot, too cold. We're looking for right in the middle.
yeah,
So yeah, I think it's super intriguing. I like learning about the principle.
yeah. I know. There's off camera. There's other applications in work and psychology, and it's
Yeah.
actually, if you want to dig deeper on your own, you can do that, obviously, and it may help you in other things outside of this treasure book. Okay, I have one more thing that to close out this chapter with, and then has something else that she wants to talk about. But I never remember last time we are talking about the lotus flower and the colors, and we didn't really go over all of them, right?
Mm.
Excuse me. So, in reference to the Buddhist philosophy, there's a couple colors that they talk about in this chapter, and I think they're pretty important. The first one's pink, which is important historical significance. The second one is red that he mentions, which is love. The white lotus flower is equal to purity. And get out your pencil and paper and write this one down. Blue, right? Blue is coming up everywhere. And this is another one that I didn't take as serious or didn't hit me as such a wow factor. I need to wake up my wife at 11:30 because I can't sleep. Most powerful of all knowledge and wisdom conjoin to prepare a path to enlightenment where secrets are revealed. I'll read it again. Most powerful of all knowledge, most powerful of all knowledge and wisdom conjoin together, conjoin to prepare a path of enlightenment where secrets are revealed. Secrets are revealed.
And
Secrets are
path,
where
like
path,
walking on the
path,
path, right?
path, secrets revealed. The 33rd parallels path, metaphorical path on the bottom. I don't know. You decide. But Laura,
Uh,
what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's super important, and it stood out to me a bit, and then I think I kind of forgot to dwell on it for a bit. The blue is obviously relevant. The blue shows up so many times that blue is relevant. Every time the word blue is mentioned, we have to like key in and look and see what he's saying. So aligning blue with path, enlightenment, which is something being revealed or, coming to a knowledge of, and secrets. Like, man, it's perfect. It is perfect. So how does that all fold in? Not totally sure. But we'll see. We'll keep it on the list of important things.
It is on my
One
list.
thing, yeah, also talking about the Blue Lotus ring. Last week I said I haven't found anything yet that references the 100 rings, like that she collected 100 rings. I've only seen less than that. I was wrong. I found the Sotheby's for that particular auction that was just a few years ago, and there were over 100 rings, slightly over 100 rings, in that collection. So I was wrong on that, but I kept searching till I found an accurate answer. But in the book itself, in this chapter, there are a number of rings shown, photographs of them. There's, I think, a grouping of three or so at the beginning of the chapter, and then single images of rings, three more rings sprinkled, throughout the pages. All the ones that are kind of more featured, that have their own write-up, that are sitting alone, all have blue stones. So again, he either just really likes the color blue, or blue has
Yeah, I like the color blue too,
I mean, blue's a good color. Yeah,
And you
I'm all
said
about
if
the.
we find a box that has these rings in it, you're going to wear that
I'm
ring.
like, I am wearing that blue lotus ring. I don't care that it's like how many thousands years old. I don't know
And
when is it
nobody will
from?
know the significance of
1800.
it. And that opens up a dialogue.
Yeah, I'm like, it's so gorgeous. It is so absolutely beautiful. I love
Yeah.
the tie back to the culture and the lotus and the symbolism, and
The
yeah,
memories of
I
finding
love
the
it.
treasure.
And the memories of finding the treasure.
'Cause,
But speaking of the culture and all of that, the last quite a few pages, pages 33 through 37, are talking about Angkor, this Angkor Wat or Wat, depending on which way you want to pronounce it, both are accurate. This lost city where we all know because of Indiana Jones, right, and the film that was filmed there. But it goes into such an extreme amount of detail about the city and the culture, and the massiveness of the city, and the elaborate architecture is incredible. I would love to visit there. We That has to
put
go
that
on
on
our
our
list.
list. Put it
Put it
on our
on the
list.
list. Yeah. um but yeah, the scale, the architecture, that it surpassed what ancient Greece did, and I'm like such a huge fan of the art of ancient Greece. But then it goes into this whole kind of back and forth of the battles, and who had control of the area, and kind of the demise of the area, and why it fell into being lost and forgotten. um, but it was all very intriguing. Primarily because I kept digging to try to figure out why it is he included such an extreme amount of detail. I don't have an answer to that yet, but I do feel like most of what he writes about is purposeful. He chose to include it because there's significance in it, or maybe even just that he took a particular interest in it and it brought him joy, right? But there's a lot of darn detail in there
Yeah.
about, the, um, I'm looking through my notes here. The Siams came in and defeated um, the Khmer Empire, and then there was some back and forth between the Champas and the Khmers, and who retreated, who was in battle, who held which city. So I read quite a bit about it on Wikipedia, which is a moderate resource, but thought it would give me a high level overview. I noticed that he did say on page 35 that the Champa took revenge, or Champa revenge took over Angkor for about 4 years. Then they retreated and were never bothered again. That actually doesn't align with the Wikipedia history, where there were several more rounds of battles. I think that's probably irrelevant. I found it intriguing because I like history. So yeah, in terms of this whole section where he writes about the history of Angkor Wat, I don't know. I'm
I
not sure what it
think
was
I
for.
think it supports the don't wing it theme, right? These people,
Maybe.
I mean, because that really ties back into the theme of the chapter. I don't know.
Yeah, that is the
Um,
theme. So we have to think about that. Speaking of that, since we're probably getting very close on our time. He wraps up the chapter with a number of comments that are going right to where you're going, which is he says about himself, if I really wanted something of worth, I needed to respect myself enough to properly plan and prepare in order to achieve it. And then he says that she would advise not to rush through these pages. She might encourage you to get to know these stories, to consider their content, and not to dismiss any of the details. And then the final comment that I think is relevant here, the more we understand ourselves in relation to it, the easier it becomes to chart a course where we need to go. It requires being attentive to details. So yeah, I mean, that one comment though, get to know these stories, consider their content, not to dismiss any of the details. So the details are relevant.
Yes, they are. They are, and it was a great segue into the third chapter, which is a joy in the details. You know, the puzzle box, magnifying glass, and the mysterious egg, which was one of my favorite chapters. But
yeah, I can't wait. One question though, as we're getting ready to transition into that chapter with about Seth Gould, which I think will be really fun. Remind me, because there is a typo in the book there. There's a triple L instead of two L's in about in the section that's talking about Seth Gould's attention to detail, and you know how attention to detail is you know needed. And then there's this typo, but didn't you say that typos are irrelevant, that that there isn't clues in typos?
Yeah, I mean, he said he was going to keep his website updated, and there's like an errata list on what's misspelled. He said he didn't purposely misspell any names, or I don't know. I don't want to be held to the fire on my quote here, but
yeah, but if anyone remembers, comment.
Yeah, there's some typos that are known that have been fixed. We have I don't think we have the latest chapter of the book, the one that you read.
Edition.
Yeah, edition. I have two books. The one I originally ordered when I went all crazy at the beginning of the year and couldn't wait. Then I also bought all the ebooks, and I didn't just buy the Apple books on. I didn't want to do what a normal person would do and just buy the whole book on ebook. I bought each individual one. I bought the lion's share, which is separate. Then each box in section 2 came out to be the same price. But now on my phone, I have 5 different ebook chapters. Whatever, right? I did that. But that seems to be the most updated, because there was a spot where he misspelled a couple things, and but there was also misspelling that wasn't fixed, that's apparently fixed in the latest, most current edition, and that's the 5.5 in Pokemon chapter.
Yeah.
Or no,
okay.
was it?
Well, if anyone has any thoughts on whether there's meaning in that,
yeah,
put it in there. I think likely not, but the typos stand out to me like flashing red lights. They that's just how my brain works. I see them and they're like, bam.
Yeah, no, for sure. So homework for everybody. Maybe reread this chapter again. I know it's brutal. It's a brutal chapter for me to read. Not that I don't really didn't like it. It's just one of those chapters that's really hard. It's like Pokemon chapter, right? Hard for me to get through. Reread it, and don't forget to come back next week, because we're going into chapter 3. One of my favorites, and Seth Gould, love him. Abe, our friend in the family, loves Seth Gould. He's a metalsmith in progress. So stay tuned for that one, and we will see you next week, next Sunday. And don't forget to check back for other videos that may pop up during the week. See you later, guys.
Everyone.